Welcome back to Truth Hurts, where we expose corrupt politicians and the lying corporate media. I'm Jake Duesenberg, your host, broadcasting live from Roseville, Minnesota, in the belly of the beast, the liberal zombie apocalypse of Minneapolis and St. Paul. Join me as always, MAGA Jesse. What are we talking about today, buddy?
Yeah, we'll be talking about a lot. I mean, there is a ton to get into because Trump is nominating the most America First cabinet we've ever seen in the history of this country. So we'll be talking about Matt Gaetz, the exciting news that he's been nominated for Attorney General. Some of the surrounding news around that. We'll be talking about Tulsi Gabbard, her nomination for Department of National Intelligence. A lot of the national media is going after her, still calling her a Russian asset. We'll be talking about Minnesotan Pete Hegseth as Secretary of Defense. That's also been getting a ton of attention. And we'll even be talking about what kind of role Jake could hold in a Trump administration. I see we got Tucker91 in the comments. Good afternoon, everyone. Marty1967. Agent Orange 68, MAGA to infinity and beyond. Don 2448, good afternoon. So good to have all you guys in. And Tucker says he would have preferred Kash Patel for Attorney General. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how you can get any better than Matt Gaetz. If he can get the votes, this is the best Attorney General we've had in, I don't even know since when.
It's very interesting. Everyone was shocked by the Pete Hegseth nomination. What was that? Tuesday? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tuesday. And then Matt Gaetz came by. Dawson, can you quickly go to my Twitter page here? I should have thought about this ahead of time. I almost made this the thumbnail. You'll see on there's a thumbnail, because I was pretty down on the picks on Tuesday when we were doing this show. And then, of course, Pete Hegseth and then Vivek and Elon were later in the day. Scroll down, you'll see a meme right here, right there. This is basically what's been happening. These are the Trump picks. Because some are not surprising. You think that Washington's upset about Marco Rubio? It's guys like us that are upset about Marco Rubio. But they're definitely upset about Matt Gaetz. This is crazy. We'll get into the story. Running the dials, as always, Mr. Deep State himself. Dawson, how you doing, Dawson?
I'm doing okay. Getting a little sick, but we're going to power through it.
Got to take that vitamin D, buddy. Vitamin D. Cindy Lou, hi. Good to see you in the comment section. If you guys want to interrupt us anytime, just hit that Rumble rant. It's a lot of fun. You just do it on your phone, hit the Rumble rant. You be part of the show. You're actually supporting the show. It's really good. Hit that like button. It says Razzle Dazzle. Yeah, make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube as well, which is a growing channel. And like them on both platforms. Let people know. At least on YouTube, it tells the algorithm to share around. We couldn't do the show without our great sponsors, Warren Wessel of Keller Williams Realty. If you're looking to buy a home or sell a home, you got to go with someone that knows the business and thinks like you and me. He was a Trump supporter. He was here at the party that one night, election night, 612-419-7453. My good friend Warren Wessel, and my realtor, by the way, and sings in my church choir. You got to love that about Warren Wessel. If you're buying a home, give the good guys at John Galt Mortgage Company a chance at financing that home. Go to johngaltmortgage.com. I love these guys so much. Everything about them is great. The Chermak brothers, we've had them on the show. We got to have them on the show more often. Tim, I love talking to Tim about monetary policy. So go to johngaltmortgage.com. Check out their their Twitter and their Facebook pages. Fantastic guys. And also we're brought to you by Alpine Country in St. Cloud, Minnesota, which is the area where there was a recount.
Yeah, basically you have 2 years.
14B was the House District, and then the other one's 54A in Shakopee. We're going to hopefully have more on that story next week. They did a canvassing on Tuesday and Wednesday, Sherburne and then Shakopee. We're just not ready to give you new info right now. We don't have any big new info on that story. So we'll stay on top of this thing if there's some funny business right now. And it could be the case. The Minnesota House will be a 67-67 split, which, by the way, is pretty damn hilarious. This is going to be interesting because the worst thing possible is the Democrats continue a trifecta in Minnesota. Well, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. The other not so bad thing is that the rhinos take over control of the Minnesota House and do nothing with it and spoil the brand. Well, that's not likely to happen either. So we're going to have a 67-67 split. Now, if the Republicans take the majority, they better do something with it. And that seems to be what Trump is doing right now. Mm-hmm. Honestly, Jesse, Matt Gaetz, who had that on their bingo card? Right. No one.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't on the list of the media speculation names. Matthew Whitaker was the name that was was one of the names that was really highly considered. That's who I expected to be. I would have been perfectly fine with Matthew Whitaker. But the fact that we're getting Matt Gaetz is even better. So I think that he is the man for the job. I think that, Trump surprised a lot of people with that nomination, but it shows he's got guts and he actually wants to follow through on what he's been fighting for. Dawson, let's go ahead and pull up this first video of Gaetz exposing rhinos. A1. This was during the debate when he was fighting to remove Kevin McCarthy. This was
successfully removing Kevin
successfully,
McCarthy.
right? And
wait a second. It says October 3rd, 2023.
What's that?
It says October. Oh, so this must have predated when he did that.
Mm-hmm.
Because he would have removed Gaetz. Oh no, hold on. Gaetz. No. This would be when they.
The description says debate.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I totally forgot how this went. They had a problem getting Kevin McCarthy the first time, and then he was successful, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then he actually removed him in October.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it went down.
Yep.
God, I totally forgot about that. Right?
Yeah, I think you've got it right.
Yeah. Because we started this show the week of the new Congress in 2023. And so our first 3 shows were about this big thing that was happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then what they did is they vacated chairs. That's when they finally removed Kevin McCarthy. It's funny how it seems like eons ago. That was, what, 2 assassinations ago?
Right. Yeah, no, it's crazy.
Sorry, assassination attempt, sorry.
And, this showed that Matt Gaetz was a real player. This showed that Matt Gaetz was actually going to go in there and fight. Most of the people who go to Congress, they just sit there, they vote as they're told, they do as they're told, they don't question the leadership, they never step out of line. Matt Gaetz shows how he is able to do it and how he's a voice for the American people because he was representing a ton of us when he was giving this speech. So go ahead and play it from the top there, Dawson.
The gentleman from Florida. My colleague says we've passed the strongest border bills in history. Well, guess what? Look at the border right now. We didn't use sufficient leverage in the debt limit or in any other thing to actually get results on the border. The border is a disaster, really something I don't think you're going to be campaigning on, that you fixed the border. Second, you said you streamlined regulations. What the gentleman from Louisiana doesn't tell you is that all of the regulatory reform he was just bragging about is waivable by the stroke of a pen of someone in the Biden White House. Do you really think you've got anything for that? It's a total joke. And then finally, the welfare to work that the gentleman from Louisiana said we got. The welfare programs that they said that they streamlined with their welfare to work stuff, they're actually going to grow. Because while they did work requirements, they blew out those programs with expanded eligibility. I'm real glad you guys didn't put work requirements on Medicaid. It probably would have resulted in Medicaid expansion. And when it comes to how those raise money, I take no lecture on asking patriotic Americans to weigh in and contribute to this fight from those who would grovel and bend knee for the lobbyists and special interests who own our leadership, who have, boo all you want, who have hollowed out this town and have borrowed against the future of our future generations.
Oh my God. We got to clip just that part right there. That was the speech right in front of them, and then as if they couldn't help it, they boo the one thing the American people hate him for.
Exactly.
I love it.
And Matt Gaetz, he is the only, well, I guess he's resigned now, but he was the only Republican member of Congress who did not take a single cent of special interest or lobbyist money. He was just like Eric Mortensen. He was 100% grassroots funded, which is why he doesn't have to be beholden to the leadership. It's why he doesn't have to be beholden to the lobbyists telling him to vote for some omnibus bill. It's because he's funded from the grassroots. It means that he's able to actually say what he truly thinks instead of being forced into positions by the party leadership and whatnot. And that's why those people that are booing, they're booing because they know he's right. Mm-hmm. They know that he's exposing them for what they are, and that's a bipartisan problem, Republican or Democrat. I see Tucker in the comments. He says, "I worry about picking him because." About picking sitting politicians, we just got the majority back. Well, the thing is with Matt Gaetz and Elise Stefanik, those are both deep red districts. Those are not going to be going to the Democrats at all. So if you're going to be plucking people out of Congress, you want to pick them from red states or red districts, which is what Trump has done. So there's no threat to the majority. Mike Johnson has said that he wants Trump to stop pulling members out of the House, which is fine by me. I'm glad that Emmer isn't getting anything out of this so far. But, which I didn't think he would anyway. He failed to deliver. His whole job was to get Trump Minnesota. That didn't happen. So I don't think Tom Emmer should be rewarded for anything. But that in mind, Matt Gaetz exposed a lot of what's going on there. it shows exactly why Trump needs someone like him. If we actually want to straighten out the Justice Department, you got to put someone who is not corrupt there. And most of the choices would have been corrupt. So at least Matt Gaetz, he's not perfect, but he's a fighter. He believes in what he says he does, and he's on our side on 95% of these issues. So I'm very excited for it.
Yeah. What's this thing about Gaetz versus Merrick Garland you got on the...
Yeah, let's go ahead and pull up that clip there, Dawson, the A2. This was, in the Judiciary Committee, which Matt Gaetz is a part of in the U.S. House. He had Merrick Garland in the committee, was questioning him. Just an interesting clip there. Go ahead and start at that timestamp I have it at.
Asked you about the verdict yet. We were getting there. I was talking about the judge. And so let me ask you this question about your time as a judge. Was there ever a time when you were a judge when you had a family member who was personally profiting off of the notoriety of a case that was before your court?
Look, I'm going to say again, it's very clear you're asking me to comment on a case in another jurisdiction.
No, wait, hold on, Mr. Attorney General. Did you ever have a family member profit off of the notoriety of any case that you sat over?
Say again, you're asking
yes or no?
You're asking me to comment on a case currently.
Well, it seems you're connecting the dots, Mr. Attorney General. I'm just asking you as to a general principle, but you are aware that Judge Merchan's daughter was profiting off of this prosecution. You are aware that that creates the appearance of impropriety. You know the very reason there's a federal rule against judges giving donations is because it is the very attack on the judicial process that we're concerned about.
I'm sorry, I don't agree with anything you just said, but I'm not going to comment on it.
Okay, so you won't comment on it, Mr. Attorney General, but you had no problem dispatching Matthew Colangelo. Who's Matthew Colangelo?
That is false. I did not dispatch Matthew Colangelo.
Matthew Colangelo became the Assistant Attorney General at the very beginning of the Biden administration. Without having been Senate confirmed, goes and gets this senior role at the DOJ, and then after, I believe it's Gupta replaces Colangelo, Colangelo makes this remarkable downstream career journey from the U.S. Department of Justice in Washington, D.C., and then pops up in Alvin Bragg's office to go get Trump. And you're saying that's just a career choice that was made that has nothing to do with the lawfare coordinated by the...
I'm saying it's false. I did not dispatch Mr. Colangelo anywhere.
Okay. Yeah, that's good right there, Dawson.
He didn't directly do it, probably, right?
Yeah, and the reason I love this clip so much is because it shows the current Attorney General with the future Attorney General.
Yeah.
It shows exactly where we are right now and where we're going. And it's very funny that Matt Gaetz was posing those questions. He made him connect the dots, to say, I'm not going to weigh in on that matter because he's pointing out this all has to do with Juan Merchant. It's his daughter that's profiting off of the Trump case, which was the E. Jean Carroll fake news case to try to diminish Trump, which obviously didn't work. And obviously Merrick Garland denies and says it's a conspiracy and whatnot, that he was coordinating with all of these offices, all of these county offices. The documentation is out there. They just decided to cover it up. So there has been communication between the federal DOJ and these local prosecutions like Fani Willis and these other ones. So that's why he refuses to give that information up, and that's why Matt Gaetz was pressuring for it. Mm-hmm. So it's just exciting to me. That's what we got, and that's where we're going.
But
so I'm excited.
A lot of people don't believe he's going to get confirmed, and I do think that it's a challenge because he is a flamethrower. I mean, literally, just look at what he said to all these congressmen.
Yeah.
Now, I know this is in the U.S. House, not the Senate, and the Senate's the one that confirms, but boy, I got to imagine he's got a lot of enemies. One doesn't have to be Marco Rubio. You saw that interview?
Yep.
Okay. That was a little shocking to me.
Yeah,
and I guess he's got a history.
Rubio's going to, since Rubio's in the spot, he's going to talk nicely about whoever Trump appoints. So
yeah, that's a fair point.
I think that he's kind of put in that position where he's got to go with it. So, I didn't really know about that. Marco Rubio said in an interview that Matt Gaetz used to work for him while he was the state speaker of the House in Florida. So it sounds like there's some history there. I'm going to give Marco Rubio a chance to try to do the Secretary of State position correctly. Trump obviously has the ability to fire him, and I hope that Trump takes that opportunity if necessary. That open U.S. Senate seat's going to make things very interesting in Florida. I'm not sure what DeSantis is planning on doing there. There's lots of theories out there, whether it's Laura Trump or whether he wants to go his own path. So we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, you're right. There's a bunch of
wait. What did you mean by that? That he points himself? What did you mean? Oh, you
no.
mean just
I mean he would choose his own choice, right? He could pick, a U.S. representative of his own or whatever he wants to do.
Yeah.
People that are more loyal to him than Trump. That's what you would think he would do, but I don't know exactly. But you're right that the U.S. Senate is going to be a super tough confirmation vote for Matt Gaetz. Luckily, we got Lindsey Graham, who's basically saying, yeah, I'm going to support the president's nominees. So Lindsey Graham, which is the chair of the Judicial Committee of the Senate, that's a massive victory for Matt Gaetz to get that. The names that I've seen that have basically already openly opposed him, Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, and Tom Tillis. Tom Tillis hasn't been a for sure no, but that makes it 50-50 right there. That means he needs every single one of these other people, and some of these people have been trashing him for a long time. Mitch McConnell, that's a tough vote for Matt Gaetz to win, but he's going to need
Mitch
that
McConnell
vote.
won't be there, though, right?
Oh, I guess you're right, yeah. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, no, things have moved on.
He's still in there. He's just not the leader. There isn't a new senator from Kentucky yet. He got reelected
when
again.
When is his
2026.
Oh.
Yeah, he's in there for another 2 years.
I could have sworn he was dead.
No.
Pretty much. Oh, man. Yeah, shell up.
Yeah, no, so he still needs to win that vote.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, 2026. All right,
yeah,
so what's this thing with Markwayne Mullin?
Yeah, Markwayne Mullin. So he is a senator who was big-time anti-Matt Gaetz, who was going after Matt Gaetz in a really nasty way in the beginning. This clip actually shows both where he was going after Matt Gaetz before. This was in 2023, and then it's going to show what he's saying now. And luckily, Markwayne is getting in line. He's doing as Trump tells him, so I like to see it. So go ahead and play that video.
This guy. This is a guy that the media didn't give a time of day to after he was accused of sleeping with an underage girl. And there's a reason why no one in the conference came and defended him, because we had all seen the videos he was showing on the House floor that all of us had walked away of the girls that he had slept with. He'd brag about how he would crush ED medicine and chase it with an energy drink so he could go all night. This is obviously before you got married. And so when that accusation came out, no one defended him, and then no one on the media would give him a time of the day.
Are you going to vote for Matt Gaetz?
You know, Matt Gaetz and I, there's no question that we've had our differences. They've been very public about it. I completely trust President Trump's decision-making on this one. But at the same time, he's got to come to Congress and sell himself. There's a lot of, or to the Senate and sell himself. There's a lot of questions that are going to be out there. He's got to answer those questions, and hopefully he's able to answer the questions right. You got to think about it.
So tell me this. So what is the story behind this sleeping with young women? I mean, I've heard that tossed around.
I'd have to do a little bit more digging into it, but from what I remember of it, it was someone. It really wasn't Matt. It was the guy. It was a partner of his. It was someone that done some political work with him or something. So they were trying to associate him with some other things that had gone on. It sounds like maybe Matt was with some younger girls. No one underage. That's never been truly proven or anything. All of that is just fiction. But
there were accusations of sex trafficking stuff in 2023.
Right.
But
it was dropped by the
Justice
DOJ, though,
Department.
wasn't it?
Yeah, right. The Department of Justice, right. It's all of it. A lot of this isn't public information. That's why it's hard to piece some of it together. But I know that Matt Gaetz, his dad, Don Gaetz, is a state senator or was a state senator. He's a big deal in Florida. He's a longtime politician. So Matt Gaetz' dad went and met with the FBI on this meeting. His dad recorded the conversation because he knew that the FBI was either trying to set him or his son up. Then after that happened, which it's a risky move to say, I'm going to record the FBI, but it worked because then they decided to drop it. Then it became more political. Then it just went to the House Ethics Committee, and which is, of course,
and they were kind of holding that over his head, weren't they?
Definitely.
And that was the speculations that he removed McCarthy because of that. That's
what Kevin McCarthy wants to allege. Rather than the policy differences, rather than what Matt Gaetz was arguing for in all of the speeches he made, that's what Kevin McCarthy said. And, Kevin McCarthy also said on Patrick Bet-David's podcast, he said, Matt Gaetz isn't close with Trump. Matt Gaetz isn't close with Trump at all. Next thing you know, Matt Gaetz is being nominated for Attorney General. I think that Matt Gaetz is he's a square guy. I mean, obviously he's a younger guy too. He's probably only 40. So I mean, some of these things are allegations from a few years back.
Oh shit!
So you got to think of it also that he was maybe mid-30s Was he maybe with a 20-something-year-old? Yeah, probably. But that's legal. That's perfectly allowed. He's allowed to do that. So, and he's married now. I don't know if people's personal lives are all that important because it's all about what are you going to do in the office. And I've had no problems with Matt Gaetz and what he's done from a policy standpoint.
Matt Gaetz is the same age as me. I'm going to get to that later because I've had this little wake-up call since Trump got, you know what I'm saying? Like,
that you're old?
Hold your horses there. Not that I'm old, but maybe, it's just that, like, I'm at that age now where people are getting into these powerful positions.
Yeah, you can be a politician now. That's pretty cool.
No, I didn't say that. No, I don't want to stoop that low. But it is interesting. So what else you got about Matt Gaetz? Because this stuff's fascinating. I just am still shocked. What was it like for Kevin McCarthy to find this information out?
Oh, I know. It's got to be just a disaster. He's got to hate it. And, John Fetterman is out there saying that this was a troll, that Trump is trying to trigger the libs. Trump, at least last I checked, he hadn't put any other nominations out there on Truth Social yet. Matt Gaetz is the last one that we have heard of yet. So obviously it's the one that set people up to go crazy. And yeah, the Democrats are going absolutely nuts.
What does it mean to put up a nomination? So what does it mean to put up a nomination?
It means that they have to go through at least for Attorney General, for example, they have to go through the Judiciary Committee. And then after the Judiciary Committee, they go to a vote of the entire Senate.
I see. Okay, so it's not like Trump says, I want this person that he's in. That's his staff or whatever.
Right. It still has to be Senate confirmed. There's all kinds of political maneuvering that people are talking about now. But Tommy Tuberville, he is another U.S. Senator from Alabama. He was actually the guy who replaced Jeff Sessions. And he is making a very interesting point on the A5 Dawson. We'll pull up that video. What he is saying here is you either get in line with Trump's nominees, you vote for Matt Gaetz, or we're going to get you out of the Senate.
Ooh, interesting.
So go ahead and play that video there.
J.D. Vance are going to be running the Senate.
Yeah, basically you have 2 years into the midterm. So will Matt Gaetz get the votes in the Senate?
I don't know. You're finding all the swamp creatures coming out right now. Everybody's got an opinion up here, but at the end of the day, President Trump was elected by an enormous vote, and he deserves a team around him that he wants. It's not us to determine that. We've got 53 votes in the Senate. We can confirm with 51. I've already seen where a couple of them says, I'm not voting for him. Wait a minute. You are not the United States of America. You have one vote in the U.S. Senate. You did not get elected president. Vote with President Trump. This is the last chance we're going to have of saving this country. And if you want to get in the way, fine. But we're going to try to get you out of the Senate, too, if you try to do that.
What parts of Trump's
that's
agenda?
Good right there. So, that's a threat right there because he's telling these people either get in line or we're getting you out of the Senate. And that, obviously all these politicians care about is their power. He also, earlier in the interview, he was talking about the U.S. Senate leadership races that had taken place behind the scenes. He was saying that he was a supporter of Rick Scott. He voted Rick Scott in that first round. Rick Scott was eliminated after that round, and then it came down to John Cornyn and John Thune. I haven't had enough time to really do a deep dive onto John Thune. All I really remember of him is
a deep dive on John Thune.
But all I know, he was Mitch McConnell's right-hand man throughout all of this. So there's probably not that much separation policy-wise between what he wants and what Mitch McConnell has done. So I don't like that he's an establishment swamp creature. Obviously Rick Scott was the best of the three, but Rick Scott wasn't great either.
A gun grabber.
Right. He's a rhino in his own right. And then I probably would have preferred John Cornyn over John Thune because I think that John Cornyn is more malleable and, he's more going with the wind. So he'd be a little bit more easy to push the MAGA agenda through under him, I'd imagine. But I was looking at some of the leadership races for the Senate. So obviously John Thune won for majority. He won the leadership for the National Republican Senate Conference Campaign Committee. It was unopposed, and Tim Scott is the new Uncle Tom. Tim Scott was elected to run the campaign wing of things. John Barrasso, unopposed for majority whip. And Tom Cotton beat Joni Ernst for the number 3 spot in the GOP Senate leadership, which is the conference chair. So that's interesting that Tom Cotton beat out Joni Ernst. I'm sure. I don't know who the better of the two is. I'd maybe think Ernst, and then you don't think so?
No.
You think Tom Cotton?
I don't think either one. Like,
But
listen,
those are
when
the options.
when it comes to Senate, let's just say J.D. Vance now is not considered in the Senate, right?
Yep.
You got Rand Paul and Mike Lee, right? Like, who else would I even go to bat for? Like, none of those other guys have.
Well, John Kennedy would
Maybe
be
Ron Johnson. You know, Ron Johnson's. He's taken some issues and done very well on them, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, I'm just thinking, like, I don't even really honestly care too much about leadership these days.
Mm-hmm.
As long as leadership isn't so bad where they're literally opposing. Like, Mike Johnson's a failure at a leader, Speaker of the House, which he's going to be Speaker of the House again. You know, but is Mike Johnson viciously going after the conservatives? I don't think he is. I think he's just leading the wrong direction. So it's a totally different story when there's actually this viciousness where they're going after, maybe undermining or doing ethics charges against people. So,
yeah, no, and that's the thing. They were both rhinos, so obviously neither one of them would have been a great option. But for the House, Mike Johnson won unanimously for Speaker. Steve Scalise, unanimous for Majority Leader. Unanimous for the GOP Vice Conference Chair, which is Blake Moore. Richard Hudson, unanimous for the NRCC, their Republican Campaign Conference. Tom Emmer, unopposed for Whip, which is, you know, kind of like, what are people doing? Do you not have any guts?
no, I mean, hey, if you got to have a whip, why not him? He has no values.
And then, but there were a couple of contested races for the House leadership. Lisa McClain took over as the number 4 in the House, the GOP conference chair, because of Elise Stefanik being nominated to the UN post. She was up against Kat Kammack from Florida. Kat Kammack probably would have been the better option on that one. And then luckily there was only one good win for the Republicans, for conservatives, I should say, out of the GOP leadership. Kevin Hearn, who was one of the individuals who Matt Gaetz and these other conservatives were suggesting be the speaker instead of Kevin McCarthy. Matt Rosendale had that viral moment where he said, Kevin Hearn. And so Kevin Hearn is the new GOP policy chairman for the U.S. House. I can't remember who he defeated, but he defeated a rhino to take that spot. So at least we're going to see from a policy end of things that the chairman, who is in charge of what policies are going to be moving forward, you know, this guy was a part of the, whatever it's called, the Republican Study Conference, which is comprised of more conservative members who want to see the government shrunk. So it's not going to be perfect, but it's moving the right direction. So the fact that Kevin Hearn is leading on policy means that the U.S. House is going to improve at least slightly here.
Scuba McSalty says, make pledges to foreign nations illegal again. That's a great segue into our next 2 segments. Okay. Let me tell you a little bit background about me. When I graduated high school, I ended up enlisting in the U.S. Army. So I went down to Fort Benning, Georgia. They don't call it Fort Benning anymore because how dare we name a base after a Confederate general, right? But I went to Fort Benning, Georgia, Sand Hill, 11 Bravo, actually more specific, 11 Hotel at the time, but it's 11 Bravo training, and became an infantry soldier, okay? While I was in college, 9/11 happened. We went into Afghanistan. We went into Iraq. I actually stood in college holding a Bomb Saddam sign promoting the war in Iraq. Now, I didn't do it from afar. I knew my number was coming up, and in fact, it was the 9/11 attack and then the invasion of Iraq, which I believed in as a stupid college student. We all know at this point with social media how dumb college students are, right? It's real tough, Charlie Kirk, debating college students. Real tough going and debating them. But, you know, I'm just giving them shit, you know. But honestly, college students, we're all dumb. You know, you're learning, right? So I made that mistake in college, right? And that inspired me to actually step up my commitment to the Army and joined ROTC. My last 2 years in college, I ended up becoming a ROTC cadet and then got commissioned in 2005 as a second lieutenant in the United States Army. Well, they commission you to the reserves, and then you go to I went in the National Guard, or you could go active duty. And so, anyhow, my time in the military was pretty interesting. I mean, I spent 12 years total, 8 years as an officer. left as a captain in 2013. I've been out for over 10 years. But can you imagine me, like, during COVID in the military? Like, like what? No, we're not wearing masks in rank. And we're not doing that.
Well, you would have gotten fired for not taking the vax.
And then I would have hit 20, but of course, you know, had I promoted to lieutenant colonel, you got to spend 2 years time in grade before you get paid that. So can you imagine the vaccines? But I just can't imagine being like a formation and having masks. Like I'd been like, well, what did we do in here, guys? This is ridiculous. So anyhow, I've been out for over a decade. And I had never planned to do much in the military. I just wanted to go fight the big fight. So I've been on the U.S.-Mexican border. I've been deployments to Kosovo, deployment to Iraq, lots of training, Germany, Japan. So I've been all around the world, you know. I think what I did in the military was, you know, for patriotic reasons. Okay, I think the bigger patriotic thing to do is to get involved in the political process. I'll just be honest with you. It's not like degrading anyone going in the military right now. However, it is kind of interesting. Like, would I want my kids to go in the military? It's a valid question, and I'm not certain the answer is yes. Okay, but I do appreciate the fact that I went in the service. But I can't stand here right now and tell you I went to Iraq to defend your liberty, and I certainly didn't go to Kosovo for a year of my life to defend your liberty. So we got some problems overseas. We're not really doing things that are America first. And we're willing to take soldiers, and this is what really pissed me off when I left the military. We have these asshole politicians, career politicians, that just can pluck soldiers from here and put them overseas for a year. And luckily I was a young man, didn't have a family, but I could have died, you know. Anyone that goes to Iraq, Afghanistan, whenever you're about to go into a war zone, you realize you probably could die at any point, right? They always say there's no atheist in a foxhole, and there's a lot of truth to that, right? So you get these politicians. This is where the chicken hawk term comes from, right? The Cheneys, the chicken hawks, where they just think we can take these soldiers, put them over there, and we're doing good. And I'm not even getting into the idea of blowback, which is a valid theory on why foreign policy of the neocons is so bad. Okay, we can get to that in another show. I'm just talking about the cost, even if it was a somewhat net benefit to send our troops overseas, the costs that are borne from that. Plus, let's not mention the suicide rates of soldiers. You know, a lot of soldiers like me have had that conversation with other soldiers who served overseas. You never want to have that conversation. You got blown up legs. You've got families that are torn apart. You got so many problems. The VA is a mess. If you want government health care, look at the VA. We don't even take care of our veterans, okay? I'm bringing all this stuff up because, you know, Tulsi Gabbard, for whatever you think of her politically, I don't think I would agree with her on a lot of things, okay? She was a Democrat. She ran as a Democrat in 2020 for president. So she definitely has views I don't believe. I'm not pro-choice. She's pro-choice. You know, I'm pro-life. I think we should economically be as free market as possible. I think that is right. She's got to be more towards the, you know, at least Keynesian, if not just socialists. Keynesians are really quasi-socialists, in my opinion. So we have some differences of opinion, no doubt about it. But when it comes to foreign politics, Tulsi Gabbard not only seems to be right on a lot of the issues, she has a history of knowing why the neocon agenda is wrong. And so she got on board. And one of the greatest things about this election, you know, the Trump campaign was so damn good. It was so good. Like, to the point where my big criticism was, why did you let Tony Hinchcliffe tell that joke? Like, you had all the momentum. I'm so thankful that didn't ruin the whole campaign. But of course, it wasn't going to ruin the whole campaign. But it was, they were going to try to make that, you know, the end of the campaign. That was the big concern, is Tony Hinchcliffe telling a joke at Madison Square Garden. That's how good the campaign was. If you think about it, if that's the big concern, the campaign was done very well. From the VP pick to the messaging to the strategy. Fantastic. People studied the Trump campaign in 2024. Doesn't help that you were going against a retarded hyena, and actually before that, a vegetable. That doesn't hurt, but still a fantastic campaign.
The
Okay,
vegetable's
so
happy now.
Vegetable's pretty
the
happy.
Vegetable got what he want. You know,
Yep.
I think Joe Biden maybe voted for Trump, and Joe Biden obviously, you know, their meeting that they had, it looked like it was productive. It looked like they were getting along perfectly well, and I think that Joe Biden has probably so much stress lifted off his shoulders, and I don't think he actually hates Trump in his gut. You know, Joe Biden is just not a hater. You know, it's not his style. He'd rather get along with people. So I think he, you know, and I guess it's going to be up to Trump to say how it really went, you know, but he's going to be able to compare Obama's transition to Biden's transition. He can tell us which one was smoother, which one was fairer. Because, I mean, obviously Obama was pretending like it was a perfectly fair operation, even though he was spying on Trump, you know, so it is what it is. But we're going to have to see that how it all shakes out. But as it appears so far, Joe Biden is doing the right thing and letting Trump peacefully transfer the power.
Yeah, I know, and I laughed. Someone commented on the video of Biden and Trump together, you know, what you do with the start of the transition. And they go, Biden's meeting with literally Hitler.
Yeah.
That's what he was called.
Shaking his hand.
Shaking hands with Hitler.
Yeah.
Like, if he's literally Hitler, would you really want to peacefully transfer the power over to him?
Have
Yeah.
you guys seen the photo of them smoking weed together? That was made? No, you haven't?
Yeah, I've seen like some AI stuff that people are doing of like, you know, people are making AI videos of like Trump and Biden as like best friends and like how they're
video games
putting
together.
everything behind them, and yeah, it's some
God
good
bless
stuff.
the internet.
I know.
All right.
AI
Well,
is
anyhow, I was
awesome.
going somewhere with this. Trump's campaign was so great that one of the best things about it is he built these coalitions. And if you don't think the RFK Jr. thing made an impact, you are smoking dope. Okay? Because I know, and I've had conversations, and this is measurable.
If he didn't drop out, he was going to get 3-4%.
It could have made a big difference. Trump probably still had enough momentum, and he probably would have whipped a lot of those votes. But the fact that he had RFK joining on there was huge. Okay? So Tulsi Gabbard was another one in that coalition. You know, the media doesn't want to say this, but she literally ran for president in 2020 against Trump, and she's on the coalition for Trump. So obviously everyone's kind of reading the room. She's probably going to get an appointment. No one knew what that appointment would be if it was an official appointment. She got Director of National Intelligence, which is a massive role. That is a huge role, and that almost always goes to the neocon deep state people. Not this time. Not this time. It's going to Tulsi Gabbard.
Right.
Someone
do you remember when she met with Bashar al-Assad? You know, this was right after the Obama administration, or it might have even been under Trump. I can't remember. I think it was under Obama, though, after the first time when they were saying he used chemical weapons against his own people, and then the intelligent people in the room were saying, why would he do that? That doesn't make any sense. He's got a battle against ISIS. Why would he be killing innocent civilians of his own? Wouldn't he be trying to get those people on his side? So, of course, you know, it was all attributed later to ISIS. And, you know, so, but Tulsi took a massive risk. She traveled to Syria and met with Bashar al-Assad. And Bashar al-Assad, of course, he is a dictator. He opened elections for the first time in Syria. So he is moving things in the right direction. And actually, when you look into him a little bit, he's a little bit more common man, a little bit more with the people than would be expected, much more than some of these other Middle Eastern dictators. So Bashar al-Assad is, you know, in the world of the Middle East, everybody is a, you know, everything is going to be centered around this Muslim doctrine and whatnot. So in that scenario,
I love how, like, I'm trying to go somewhere this thing, and you crack open that one, like, like, you know, that's the thing that the leftists clip on this show right here, because it's like Assad is no great guy, right? But you're also dealing with the Middle East. It's like, was toppling Saddam Hussein a good thing? Saddam Hussein was a piece of shit. He was a terrible, evil human being.
Almost every time it's gone bad.
But it goes worse when you get the Wahhabists in control, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it's that weird one, right? And you just want to crack that open, even though I'm trying to make a point here, Jesse. How dare you?
It's connected to the Russia thing. It's connected to this Russia thing because
anyhow, but this is the thing that bugs me. Okay, so Tulsi Gabbard, she served longer than I did. I think we had pretty much the same time, although she's still in the military, I believe.
Yeah.
She's a lieutenant colonel, which, by the way, gets congressional approval.
Right.
You know, officers in the military get congressional approval. All right, so pull up this the B1, Dawson. And this is on truthhurtsnews.com. So these, I think you guys all know Hillary Clinton called her a Russian asset in 2020. This is where it started. As a Democrat congresswoman and as a contender for president in the Democrat Party, she has Hillary Clinton. Who the hell are you, Hillary Clinton? What did you do for this country?
Yeah.
You are nothing but a leech.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
the Clinton Foundation is like a scam.
It's a huge
it's
scam.
Like, it's a foreign scam where she's taking money from Saudi Arabia and
100%.
But yeah, we're supposed to believe she's got our interests at mind.
Right.
Give me a break.
Who are these people? So this is on Truth. You can go to truthhurtsnews.com, and there's so many of it, but this got me so irate today. I got to admit, I was so pissed reading this stuff. Not that I'm the biggest Tulsi Gabbard fan in the world, but for someone that seems by all measures honorably served our military and actually still serving, for people to call her a traitor is insanity, especially when these people are nothing but career politicians who never served in the military.
Mm-hmm.
We got a picture of Hillary Clinton up there. In the middle is Jamie Long. That's a he/him, by the way. Jamie Long. He's the majority leader, soon to be not majority leader in the Minnesota House because Democrats don't have a majority. Mm-hmm. They have a tie. So he's the tie leader? I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe the Rhinos will vote for Jamie Long as majority leader. Who knows? I don't think you can have a majority leader because there's no majority.
Equality leader.
He's equality leader. There you go. Jamie Long weighed in. This is Mr. I Love Israel with all my heart. Jared Markowitz, Representative Markowitz from Florida. These are just some of the people I came across. Oh, and David Axelrod. I almost forgot about that one. Scroll down. Let's go to David Axelrod. You know him from, he was basically Obama's right-hand man. It says, Tulsi Gabbard is director of national intelligence. Putin must be shaking his head in disbelief at his luck. The payoff of Trump's victory already has been beyond his wildest dream. What proof do you have here?
Right.
What are you talking about?
Well, what he's trying to connect there is Syria. He's trying to say that because she met with Bashar al-Assad and whatnot. Are they really making that connection? No,
that's
part of the reason why they call her.
But doesn't
a Russian
it all
asset.
stem? Hold on. Isn't it stem from Hillary's comment though? Isn't that all what it stems from?
I know, but I think that she met with Assad before then. So Hillary was the one that really popularized calling her a Russian asset. But they were basing it around the fact that Russia was supporting Bashar al-Assad to defeat ISIS. And Trump was coming in saying, we have to defeat ISIS, then we can talk about Assad after that. Tulsi Gabbard chose to meet with Assad, which they said is proof that she's siding with the Russians, which really it's, no, I'm against ISIS, and you can't defeat ISIS if you're fighting two battles at once.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the main reason they call her a Russian asset.
Mm-hmm. By the way, I just realized I put he was a chief of staff for Obama. He was a senior advisor, so a little different, but obviously not a big deal. Fair point, but still like a ridiculous statement to make. And by the way, does that mean that Trump is a China asset because he meets with Kim Jong-un?
You mean a North Korean asset?
Or a North Korean asset, too, I guess, so to speak.
North Korean would be,
Well, they were using a different country, right? Because she didn't meet with Putin.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So because he met with the Chinese communist neighbor, is he a Chinese ex?
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing.
Maybe I could come up with a better example, but you know what I'm saying? It's like,
exactly. Just because you meet with someone doesn't mean you agree with them on everything. You have to have
clearly.
Diplomacy. And I mean, Reagan showed that. Lots of American presidents have shown that throughout history.
And it's a goofy thing. I get it. It's goofy. You don't want to meet with dictators, these awful people like Kim Jong-un. However, it's better than war.
Yeah.
It's much better than a lot of people dying.
And especially with North Korea, Hawaii is a big concern.
Yeah.
Hawaii is nervous as hell about North Korea because they're the closest target.
They allow Bibi Netanyahu come to the congressional floor. That guy's killing a lot of people.
Yep.
Well, we can't talk that way. Sorry, we'll be off air.
And John Fetterman, again on him, he even kind of hinted that he would support Tulsi Gabbard, so we might even see a few Democrats come out and support her. I could see Bernie as another possibility because he also got hit with that Russian smear asset.
Yeah, wouldn't that be funny if Bernie doesn't do it, even though she endorsed Bernie back in the day? Wouldn't that be hilarious?
No, she backstabbed Bernie. She backstabbed Bernie in the end. Yeah, she supported Bernie in 2015. She was the DNC vice chair, which actually she's a little sketchy on that. She doesn't give a whole lot of detail, which a lot of people want to know. But she dropped out as the vice chair of the DNC, announced that she was going to support Bernie over Hillary in 2016. Then comes 2020, she announces her own run, which Bernie was a little peeved about because I thought she was going to support me again. I don't know what's going on here. But she continues to run anyway. She runs to the point where, it's down to just her, Bernie, and Biden, even though she's getting less than 1% in almost every single one of the primaries. She dropped out before her home state so that she wouldn't be embarrassed and lose Hawaii by the margins that she did. But when the time came when it was down to her, Bernie, and Biden, she dropped out. What did progressive expect her to do? Endorse Bernie. Mm-hmm. What did she do? Endorse Biden. She endorsed Biden over Bernie. So there's a little bit of problems with that. I called her out on it one time and asked her, why'd you endorse Biden? What's your problem? And especially when Kamala Harris was Biden's VP, I couldn't believe that Tulsi was still sticking by it. But after she endorsed Biden, she stayed quiet after that up until after the election. Then all of a sudden she got her brains about her and said, I guess it wasn't smart to put Joe Biden in there after all. I appreciate that she's on the right side of things now. I worry that she's a grifter. I don't know if she's honest. I don't think she's a Russian asset. I mean, all that kind of stuff is ridiculous. But I do think she's a grifter, and I don't trust her 100%.
Razzle Dazzle says, nothing to discuss in Minnesota politics today. Just a second. We're getting to it. We're having a conversation here. I hope you can join us. This is well, speaking of Minnesota, here's Jamie Long. A tweet from Jamie Long, who's a he/him. It's the current majority leader in the Minnesota House. Tulsi Gabbard for intelligence? ? Matt Gaetz for AG? These are dangerous extreme nominees far outside the American mainstream. Time for some courage. The Senate must stand up to resoundingly reject these nominees. Whatever. Congressman Jared Moskowitz. Nominating Tulsi Gabbard to lead our intelligence community is incredibly reckless. Putting someone with known sympathies for foreign adversaries is not putting America's interests first. It's putting our security at risk. Please. By the way, this guy won't be seen without an Israel flag on his lapel pin. He's got one of those Americans. Who are you beholden to?
Why is that wrong? How come having sympathy for foreign people is bad?
No, it's
because you're not America first.
Yeah, it's not. You can have sympathy for any cause around the world, but your priority has to be your district and your country.
Right.
I suppose, but are the two mutually exclusive?
No, they're not. But the argument he's making is she goes and talks to a foreign leader. Maybe that's the argument he's making. Maybe he has no argument because he has no proof of this, right?
Yeah. Right.
But let's just say he's using the line of thinking Jesse's talking about. It's like you literally are advocating and sending our money, our tax money, by the way, to a foreign country, which is not doing good things right now. They're actually killing a lot of human beings. Mm-hmm. So don't come lecture me, Markowitz. Then you get to these trolls online. This is JoJo from Jers. I don't know. I mean, like people saying Twitter is like shadow banning people. It's like, no, they're not. I get these assholes on my feed all the time. She is just like button. So the only reason I'm bringing her up, she's got like 1 million followers, so she's obviously not a nobody. And this is just funny. He just made a Russian asset the director of national intelligence. And then Ad Kranzenstein, that guy's a moron. Or they had it right, and we have a domestic terrorist heading up national intel. That would be a scary thought. What have you guys done for this country? You haven't served in the military. You're calling her a terrorist? Mm-hmm. Like, it's unbelievable, these people. She was, by the way, she's on some kind of watch list from the TSA under the Biden administration, which is also the same Biden administration that raided the home of Donald Trump. Did you see Melania won't meet with Jill Biden?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. Trump pretty much has to meet with Joe Biden, and I'm sure it's an interesting conversation, but good on Melania if you're going, screw these people, what they did to my home, because that's bullshit, and they weaponized the government against us. Let's move on to Minnesota news. Let's talk about Pete Hegseth. Do we have Tushi on we have Tushi on right now? Is that correct? Tushi there?
Tushi is
Paul?
here.
Can you hear me, Paul? Liberty
here.
Longbeard? Do you have an interesting background? There we go. Liberty Longbeard for Minnesota GOP chair. I love it. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right.
Why can't we see you though? Are you just hiding?
Yeah, I just have the background on for now.
Oh, okay.
Is this the same segment? Do you want?
No, I want to talk about Hegseth. That's why I brought Tushi on, because Tushi, we go a ways back. We were Ron Paul guys in 2012. Actually, you were in the 2008 campaign as well. we went to the state convention, and this is where we got to learn about Pete Hegseth for the first time, a guy I don't think had really gotten involved in politics before then. And he ran for the U.S. Senate. And the way that I describe Pete Hegseth running in 2012 was he was running a 2004 style campaign in 2012, which was clearly an economics year. And so he lost. And of course, you and I were probably both very sympathetic. And of course, in my case, actually helping and working with the Kurt Bill's campaign at the time, because I really believed in this economic message. You know, Kurt obviously became a big disappointment and was probably the worst performer against Amy Klobuchar. Not, 8 points behind what Royce White just did?
Mm-hmm.
But
more than that, like 10.
Yes, but at least was on message, right? Embracing the issues of the day. And at that time, Pete Hegseth was like promoting war with Iran and Iraq and all that kind of stuff. He just seemed to be the neocon establishment choice. I mean, I don't think it seemed like it. He was the establishment choice in that endorsing convention.
He wasn't involved in politics, but I mean, he obviously has the same resume, the same type of Joe Tayrab type resume, with the military stuff and also the law degree from Ivy League school. And
no, he doesn't have a law degree. He's got a master in public.
Okay, yeah,
public policy.
He got a degree from Ivy League school, and then he goes in the military as an officer and goes to Guantanamo Bay or whatever. And they give him this resume, to run for office, right? So, and he was a member of the CFR. And I was trying to look this up in light of the show today. Like, I don't know, they don't just have membership rolls posted or anything, but he was a CFR member as like a, I don't know, 30-year-old or whatever, right? How does one get in the CFR at such a young age, So
and he's referring to Council on Foreign Relations, which is basically a neocon organization.
Yeah.
Right.
So and we see Pete Hegseth as a tough guy, tough man out there interrogating these people in Guantanamo Bay. But we know, Jake, don't we know that he has the softer side as well? Have you ever seen Pete Hegseth cry?
Have I?
You didn't see when he lost the endorsement?
Dude, I honestly don't remember this.
Yeah, he shed a few tears. I'm sure the establishment people told him, like, you're our guy. You're gonna get in there. And it's like he was like last place behind Severson and Haig and
well,
Bills.
he did beat Shudlick.
Yep, I think so.
I love Harold Shudlick. I wonder what Shudlick is up to these days. Well, okay, so let me just throw this at you, and you push back at me if I'm not right on this one. So like I was saying, a couple things have hit me recently. J.D. Vance is younger than me, right? Which means he's younger than you, too, because you're a little bit older than me, douchey.
Yep.
So he's going to be the vice president of the United States of America. Pete Hegseth, about same age, would have been in my peer group. I was looking at his resume. I think he got commissioned a year or two before me. So one of my closest friends.
About as well.
What's that?
And the lovely Tulsi Gabbard that we just talked about as well.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. That's right. Tulsi Gabbard and Matt Gaetz is my age, right?
Yep.
And my friend, one of my closest friends, Jeff, was a commander. It was a second company command. It was like an HHC unit, and he handed over command to Pete Hegseth. So technically, I guess he was already a little further advanced in his career. I think at that point I'd already gotten out. I'm thinking, I can't remember. Yeah, Jeff probably was in that command position right when I got out. Jeff stayed in just a little longer. Actually, he got in later than me, so we probably had the same amount of time service. So, it just hits me like these guys, and this is actually good because we've complained a lot of times on this show. These people are all old. And so now they're going a new generation, new leaders. I was Bomb Saddam in college. I was holding that sign. I was mistaken. And then my eyes got opened mostly to actually what I witnessed overseas, but then also just from some of the thinkers like Ron Paul, who had a great track record of calling the bullshit of overseas intervention. Obviously, Pete, who had already been to Iraq at that point, did not have that viewpoint. Now, he went to Afghanistan. Well, no, I think he just got back from Afghanistan. So he hadn't had that viewpoint yet. But it does seem to me he's developed into America First guy. So let's go to this, Dawson. I want you to pull up, let's see, C2. And I put this on my Twitter account. This is from the Sean Ryan show. I mean, where's the guy stand nowadays? I don't know. Let's go to a 2-3 hour podcast where he lays it out with a former Navy SEAL guy, Sean Ryan. Let's go ahead and play this.
We only have one Defense Department. What's the option? Abandon it? And so if every patriot abandons it, what does it look like, and how is it utilized in the future in ways that are far more nefarious than foreign wars, where we get entangled and we end up trying to nation build for 20 years?
When's the last time we actually went to war to fight for our freedom?
We won't even defend our southern border.
Should we have been in Iraq?
I was a huge proponent of it at the time, but in retrospect, absolutely not.
So was I. I don't think we should have been there. Yeah. I think that was all for Cheney and KBR, Halliburton.
I've been a recovering neocon for 6 years now. Like, the foolishness with which we ricocheted around the world, intervening, think it was in our best interest, when really we just overturned the table and created something worse in almost every single scenario, has led to almost, I mean, the hubris of the Pentagon is that they want to now tell other countries how to do counterinsurgency based on what we did in Iraq and Afghanistan. So you're right. That the trust there that our political leaders or our generals would have our best interests in mind is totally broken. It's totally broken. I acknowledge that completely. And the last thing I want is my son deploying to the Donbass to defend Eastern Ukraine. Mm-hmm. I'm with you too. At the same time, I'm fearful of what happens when the institution gets abandoned completely. And maybe it feels like the public school argument, like, hey, if we take all the Christians and people of faith out of public schools, then they're really going to go, yeah, but you got to save your kid, right? And I'm going to save my kid. And that's the view. It's just there isn't an alternative right now to the United States military. If Trump does win and goes at it, I think it might be our last sort of chance to save this institution and turn it back to what it was, because it is a top-down organization. You put a SecDef in there who's focused on all the right things, get rid of all the things that are described in the book, and focus on warfighting, lethality, and training, and standards, real standards, not equity, but equality. Mm-hmm. You can do it. There's still the core there, but I share all your, I mean, what has Washington shown us in the last 20 years that we should trust them with how they'll use our young men? All
right, Dushy, so he's saying he's a recovering neocon. He thinks Iraq was a mistake. He doesn't want his son, and by the way, I agree with Pete on this, is you need to save the institution of our military, which has a great history, great traditions, although it's very wrongly led in the last decade for sure. So you got to save the institution, but it shouldn't be Ukraine. His son should not be joining the military. And some part in that discussion they were talking about, I don't know if I would even have my kid go into the military these days, which I just said on the show earlier. So is there a chance that this guy is, I mean, he spent the last decade on Fox and Friends, which is the one show on Fox News that's very friendly. Well, I guess Gutfield is too, but it's been a Trump-friendly show, right? Trump really likes Fox and Friends, by the way. So is there a chance this guy's actually seen the light?
Well, I don't know. I suppose there is a chance, right? It can happen. It can happen that somebody sees the light, and it can happen that somebody changes their behavior because they realize what's best, you know, even if they haven't seen the light, right? So, but definitely with what he said, he's actually calls himself a recovering neocon, and he actually, most politicians won't admit to that, right? If you ever ask Paul Gazelka, well, do you ever regret any of the compromises you made? Do you ever regret any of these votes that you took? Like, he will never regret anything. Ron Creech, these types of people, they'll never admit that they did anything wrong, right? And so the admission is actually really nice that he says he's a recovering neocon and he's taking a new position now, which he kind of has to. But it's like some of these politicians, you know, that they have when they're their party's in power, they hate the filibuster, but when the other party's in power, they love the filibuster. They'll just change their position. So he's clearly taking the right stance right now, which is if his job is to do what he's told by Trump, basically, then okay, then that's a possibility that he'll do what he's told by Trump rather than by the CFR. And like I said, I would like to see if he's still a member, and there's, as far as the U.S. military and having to you have to save the military, otherwise we don't have a country. There's very few things that the federal government is supposed to do, and one of them is to have a actual military that could defend the country, right? And so if you have you don't see, I'm sure, any of these other major countries like Russia or China having all these transgendered officers, and you know what I mean, like having. You know what I'm saying, right? This is it's not going to be advantageous for the U.S. military if we go super woke and super leftist, And so even if just for that sake alone, to preserve the military as actually, and I guess one thing I've seen a number of places in the last couple of days where Pete Hegseth has even talked about not having women in combat roles.
I'm glad you brought that up. So let's go. Yeah. Let's pull up the C3 here, Dawson. This is some fake news. This is what we do on the show, is we expose the liars in the corporate media, CNN being the quintessential corporate media. This is Caitlin. Scroll up there. I want to get the original thing. Caitlin Collins, who's just a nasty person, a nasty woman. You are a nasty woman, Caitlin Collins, says Trump during his debate with her. I'm sorry, town hall. Still seemed like a debate. This is her interviewing Tammy Duckworth. This is what it says. This is Caitlin Collins' Twitter account. Veteran Senator Tammy Duckworth and Pete Hegseth saying women shouldn't serve in combat. Quote, I would ask him, where do you think I lost my legs? Go ahead and play the first minute of this clip.
There are millions of women who have served in the U.S. military, as you know, as someone who has not only served, but you're also someone whose helicopter was hit by an RPG. You lost your legs and partial use of your right arm because of it. What did go through your mind as a woman who has served when you heard him saying that women should not be in combat roles?
Well, he's shown that his absolute lack of experience and his lack of suitability for the job, because anybody that truly knows the military knows that we cannot go to war without over 225,000 women who are serving on active duty right now. Our military cannot go to war without our female service members. This is not the Revolutionary War where there's some sort of a line in the sand and, combat is on one side and the rest of us can stay behind this line, and that's not combat. I would ask him, where do you think I lost my legs? In a bar fight? I'm pretty sure I was in combat when that happened.
All right, go ahead and stop it there.
It just shows
Isn't she is basically the female Jesse Waters, is she not? She is like Jesse Waters, but a woman.
Jesse Waters?
Yeah, from Fox News.
You're saying Tammy Duckworth or Caitlin
No,
Collins?
I'm sorry. Caitlin.
Oh, okay.
Caitlin Collins.
Oh, okay.
Doesn't she remind you, like, all the same... It's like the same person.
I don't know. I don't mind Jesse Waters.
I don't know. I've never been the biggest fan, but
yeah, I don't know.
They look like the same
was loyal
person.
To Trump.
Well, yeah, I could see Fox News doing the same thing to take it some context. But let's go back here, Dawson. What did Pete actually say? Just so you know, Tammy Duckworth was a Black Hawk helicopter pilot, and I think she got hit by an RPG. The bird got hit by an RPG, and so that's what ended up leading to her losing her legs. What did Pete actually say? Go ahead and play this.
I'm not even talking about pilots. I'm not talking about pilots. I'm not talking about the ability to, I'm talking about physical labor intensive type jobs. So
Shooting
maybe you're
people
talking
in the face at close distance when it's very personal. That's the kind of stuff you're talking about.
SEALs, Rangers, Green Berets, MARSOC, infantry battalions, armor, artillery, if it's strength. I'm talking about stuff that would need strength is a differentiator.
Yeah.
Pilots? Give me a female pilot all day long. I got no issues with that. I'm not even talking about pilots.
All right. Give me a female pilot all day long. Like, literally was not talking about people like Tammy Duckworth. Look at just how phony CNN is. This is why they call them fake news, by the way. They don't even care and bother to listen to what someone actually said. Now, I think Pete has a great point as someone who served in combat arms, as an infantry officer, actually as an infantry soldier, because I was enlisted before then. it's not a good idea to have women in combat arms. It just isn't. There's two main reasons, okay? One, and everyone knows this, men are stronger than women. I remember ROTC, there was like the hand grenade range. There was no, other than just the PT test. Like women do, I think their max push-ups are 19, whereas in men's is like, or minimum standards is like 19, and men are like 38. Like it was like more than double or something like that. It's tremendous. Somehow we have the same ab strength, so I think the sit-ups are the same. But men were faster. Everyone knows this. I mean, come on, it's just so obvious. It's why the Olympic standards are different, right? Mm-hmm. But I remember the hand grenade range, and I just never saw a woman throw it. I don't know why women can't throw like men, but they just can't. And obviously they don't have the muscular strength in their upper body that men have. And so, throwing a hand grenade at long distance is actually a very damn important job in an infantry unit. You know that? I hope you know that. The max effective range of a grenade. You want to make sure you throw it past the max effective range of the grenade. So anyhow, that's the obvious one. You know what? The one that's not so obvious, but everyone should know that once you put women with men, you have to make accommodations, and you have problems with people sleeping around. The accommodations are different changing rooms, different restrooms. That's the stuff we have to worry about with the guys on the front line. That's a dumb idea. I could give you lots of examples why that's a really dumb idea. But even more importantly, they're going to sleep together. When you have everyone that works a corporate job knows people hook up, right? I remember ROTC summer camp. It was about the only time I was with I would say it wasn't a majority of women. It's still probably 70, 80, 20 or something like that, men. But a lot more women in ROTC, and then all of a sudden you're on a field problem and everyone's hooking up. I mean, that's what happens. By the way, they call it skookum lovin'. I was telling Jesse about that on the pre-show. Skookum lovin' for all the ROTC former ROTC members. And so you're just going to have this. It's one of the reasons sexual assault's growing in the military, just FYI. When the commander-in-chief, Bill Clinton, will get a blowjob in the Oval Office from an intern who works with him, right? Why would you expect it to be any different with the regular Joe in an infantry unit? By the way, if it's fine for the commander-in-chief, isn't it fine for the lower? It's not a good idea. It's a terrible idea. We don't have to do it. The only reason you would rationalize those people, like because this happens in corporate America, and I'm not making the argument women shouldn't be in corporate America. They obviously enhance corporate America. They have skill sets that help out, but they don't necessarily on the combat in combat in the sense that they are physically not as capable of men. Tushi, am I wrong on any of this stuff?
Well, I mean, I don't know that you're necessarily wrong. I provide a little bit of counterpoint, but again, not being in the military, I can't speak to some of it. But yeah, for sure, like you said, in corporate America, I mean, a lot of people they have spouses at home, they have girlfriends, they have people around, and yet they're still having affairs with people that they work with. You know what I mean? So it's all that. I can't even imagine what it's like you're married to somebody, you got a girlfriend that you're away from for 6 months, a year at a time, and then you got a attractive woman right with you all day long, right? But like in corporate America, right, people get hired for jobs, or supposedly they should get hired for their jobs based on their ability, right? So if you got men, women, black, white, whatever else, as long as people are getting hired based on what they're able to do, then they're able to do the job. They're there on their merits, right? So when you say, I think you and also Hegseth, it's a generalization that's true, like overall, right? That women are not as strong as men. It's like the average woman is less strong than the average man, type thing, right? So,
and it's not even close, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. So theoretically, a workaround would be to say, well, everybody's got the same standards to follow, but then that really does not at all change the problem of like the different genders.
Right. And by the way, the standards are not the same. The PT test, the physical training test, is different for women.
Exactly.
So why that doesn't even make sense? Like, why would it be different if it's the same capabilities? But yeah, as you're alluding to, is even if the physical standards are the same, you still have to compete with the idea that it's going to hurt morale. And the other argument against, because I'm once again not making an argument against women out of the workplace, which is a relatively new thing in the last 60 some years when you had reliable birth control. Because otherwise, before then, women were not in the workforce like they are today. And so the other argument here is that I can't remember where I was going to go with that. Jeez. Good job, Jake. What were you going to say, Tucci?
Women aren't conscripted, or is that still a thing? I'm not even...
No, they're not required to sign up for the draft, nor do I even believe men should have to sign up for the draft.
Well, right. It's insane, right? I mean, I had
I'm sorry. I remember what I was going to say. Unlike corporate America, this is like real dire consequences. Like in corporate America, I'm not trying to undermine, your profitability is less than what it could have been, right? Okay. But the consequences of the job in corporate America pale in comparison to the consequences of war, which is death or, people being severely injured. So that's a massive problem. Oh, also, in terms of readiness for soldiers, imagine STDs being a readiness issue and pregnancy. And that is actually a real thing, pregnancy overseas. Women get pregnant over in combat zones.
Yep.
So,
I'm seeing a few comments here. I just want to hit them on Pete Hegseth here. So, it is lovely, says, too many rabid Zionists picked already, hoping it's a big head fake. Scuba McSalty says, just another politician. M. Bauer 44 thought the hand gestures that Pete Hegseth was doing were kind of girly. Scuba McSalty says that he went to the Walls School of Public Communication learning those jazz hands. Let's see here. Billy 22 says you shall know them by their fruits. Let's see here. It is lovely. Agrees with you guys. Agrees with you, Jake, on women being in combat zones. Thinks it should not happen.
No, one thing I was thinking, lovely says women should be in combat arms.
Should be. Oh, I misread that.
But should not be in politics.
Oh, okay.
That's a very interesting take.
Interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting perspective right there.
By the way,
one thing I was thinking on Pete Hegseth, he might be the first Department of Defense director that has tattoos. That's a little odd. And one thing,
the new age, right?
New age, yeah. And then also, I know the media is going to go after him for the hand washing comment. He says he doesn't wash his hands after he goes to the bathroom.
When did he say that?
Oh, that's out there. I mean, he says he never washes his hands.
So that's disgusting.
So Trump, it's an odd choice for Trump. Trump might not be shaking his hand after some deep decision.
Wait, where does he say that?
Dawson, Google Pete Hegseth washing his hands.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, how about Rachel Levine? Look at that.
Oh yeah, yep. Rachel Levine. Yeah, that's a trooper right there.
Yeah, what is Rachel Levine's job? I can't even remember.
Google
doesn't wash his hands.
Okay, well let's look this up here. Hold on, go back up. Did Pete Hegseth say germs aren't real? Probably say that he doesn't wash his hands.
Maybe the independent one, independent.co.uk, right above. Trump's defense secretary can't remember washing hands once over the last decade in bizarre resurfaced footage.
What?
You don't remember this?
I remember seeing this.
No, I literally must have been in a cave.
Here,
Jake,
hold on. Let's hear the actual comment here.
I don't think I've washed my hands for 10 years. Really, I don't really wash my hands ever.
Help me!
I don't think I've washed my hands for 10 years.
Okay.
Really, I don't really wash my hands.
Hold on. Is this a joke? Is this like a bit?
Yeah, that's good. I mean,
hold on.
It's just not. Germs are not a real thing. I can't see them. Therefore, they're not real.
So you're becoming immune to all of the
I'm guessing this is a joke.
Get sick.
Right?
He's being a little sarcastic, but there's obviously truth behind it. He wouldn't be saying that if he was an avid hand washer, he wouldn't say that.
Whatever.
I'm saying there's no way that
this
he
sounds like
his hands
fake
every
news.
time.
That sounds like he is telling a joke.
What are you talking about?
I can't see them, so germs aren't real. Like he really believes that.
Well, yeah, the germs thing, I think he's exaggerating for sure on that. But the hand washing,
I think that's an extension of it.
Well, I think that him saying I don't wash my hands, germs aren't real. That seems pretty.
Okay, I wanted to move on to the last segment and go to the post show, but now we have to get to the bottom of this.
Well, germs
go back
are
to that
real.
page here.
Germs
I think this is fake news, guys. I'm going to say I don't believe this.
Fake news.
By the way, what is your before we get to the?
Well, he says he was joking too.
That sounds like a joke to me.
I would too.
It's partially a joke, but
he's not a professional
there's truth
comedian,
behind
so it's not
jokes.
like he does a great job. Get off this site. What are we doing on this site? We already saw there.
Jake has this fantastic ability to watch somebody say something and then be like, they didn't mean it. Like, what? You just saw it.
No, I don't
You
know.
mean I can't
I think
detect
he was-
sarcasm? Is that what you're saying?
That didn't sound like sarcasm to me at all.
It was a mix.
Well, yeah,
it was a mix.
we don't
of
go to you for
sarcasm and
comedy.
Truth. I mean, I think that Pete Hegseth isn't Mr. Wash Your Hands. I'll tell you that.
I don't know.
Oh wait,
Yahoo News Canada?
Canada. Ugh,
It's goofy.
guys, I really think. Well, is there a longer bit of that segment, or they've all clipped? Yeah, hit that one. Go ahead.
Good Lord. 10-second.
As I told you, my 2019 resolution is to say things on air that I say off air. I don't think I've washed my hands for 10 years. Really, I don't really wash my hands ever.
Help me!
No, I inoculate myself. It's just not, germs are not a real thing. I can't see them, therefore they're not real.
So you're becoming immune?
I'm just saying that sounds like a joke, guys.
He's partially joking, but it's also,
I think he's not partially joking there.
Why would he make that joke if it's not something that he's actually thinking about?
Was this
Of
during
course, he's
COVID?
actually thinking about it. I wouldn't. You know, we met him that one time. I found out about the handshaking after the fact. And I was like, great.
Shake his hand?
I did shake his hand.
I did
you
not
know.
shake his hand because
Disgusting.
I was being silly, I guess.
You know, I hope he does a great job, though. I hope he actually is a recovering.
So what are
neocon.
you thinking? Are you liking this appointment? This was so
I'm willing to give it
this
a
was
chance,
such
yeah.
a weird appointment. It was
Right.
so bizarre. No one knew what to think except for most people were just against it. And then all of a sudden Matt Gaetz comes and it's like, "Oh, well, Hegseth seems pretty mainstream."
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Right. Well, and yeah, Tom Tillis, which was one of the guys that said he wouldn't vote for Gaetz, says he will vote for Hegseth. I'm going to give Hegseth a chance. I mean, I don't have the most crazy expectations in the world for him, but he's probably going to be better than some of the previous ones we've seen. So, you know, especially, you know, even over Mattis. You know, Jim Mattis is this, you know, well-respected, but, you know, he was corrupt when it came down to it. So I'm willing to give Pete Hegseth a shot at this.
Razzle Dazzle says Hegseth considered local story. That's a reach, Jake. Jeez, we cover national stuff too. Take it easy on me, Razzle Dazzle. Hegseth married 3 times. I'm sure he's working on number 4 now or soon. That is actually a valid case. Personal life issues, big issues. By the way, the incoming commander-in-chief also married 3 times. Just FYI. So if we're going down that road, it doesn't look good for Trump either, right? I think you probably should love your wife and stay with your wife. I think that's a good thing, especially when you have kids.
Yeah,
Stay with your wife.
It is lovely. Says it was a typo. It is lovely. Doesn't think women should be in combat zones after all. So
and obviously she's
not in
making
politics, not in
making fun
combat.
of the fact that women vote obviously more to the left. That's why she's saying it. That's a joke as well, Dawson. Or am I reading too much into it?
I just think you're bad at jokes. But it's
Oh,
funny.
I'm bad at jokes. You can't even tell the humor in Pete Hegseth.
You walked into Am I a Racist and called it a 10 out of 10 movie. Like, that's
Yeah, for its genre, it was 10 out of 10.
embarrassing.
No, it's not.
That's just
that was a
that's
great
just
movie.
Bad humor.
That movie is so well done. I'm dead serious. That movie's so well done. I don't think I gave it 10 out of 10. Didn't I give it like a
Yes,
9?
you said like 8 times that you give it a 10 out of 10.
No, what did I
was
say
like,
on the
"There's no
show?
way."
Didn't I give it a rating on our show?
I don't remember a
I think it was like
rating.
a 9.5 or something like
So
that.
you're walking back on the 10 out of 10 you gave to me? That's good.
Whatever.
You're working my way.
Whatever.
I think I gave it a 2.
Yeah. See? You don't understand comedy. You said you laughed twice during Am I Racist?
And one of them was really, really funny. It was the
Did you watch
goofy
till after
face.
after the credits?
Did I watch the post-credit scene? What was the post-credit scene? I can't remember.
He called the bookstore to ask for that book, but he couldn't say the name of the book. Because he said it would make him triggered, and then he said it rhymes with trigger.
Oh, that's not very funny either.
Hold on one second. I'm going to just tell you how Dawson has no humor.
Jake,
where was
what
this?
was the I can't remember. I'm too sick to figure it out.
Okay, here we go. I'm going to Dawson, I want you to pull up D5. D5. This is the graphic. If you've seen Am I Racist, the funniest part on Am I Racist was when he's giving this instructional class at the end, and he wants people to put up on the board where they fall on the racist scale.
Yeah. I think this was the funniest part to me as well.
But the fact that you act like it wasn't, it was like laugh on the floor,
It
like
wasn't a
I
10 out of
lost
10
it.
comedy.
Scoo McSalty asks, what is a 10 out of 10 comedy, Dawson? What's an example of like a comedy movie?
Great question.
Dumb and Dumber, like, you know.
What is it?
That's Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, I wouldn't give them a 10 out of 10. I'm just giving an example.
Gosh, there's a lot of comedy movies. I would have to think about it.
Give us one.
I am a really big fan of like the Borat movies. I thought Borat 1 was so, when I first saw it, I was laughing like crazy.
Okay, so you're not that far off.
I'm going to agree with Dawson here. Sacha Baron Cohen is an absolute genius, and everything he's done has been hilarious.
He's really funny.
Well, he's a genius at comedy. Politics, he's clueless.
Oh, of course.
But that's the thing. He knows he's just putting on a persona. You know, a lot of these celebrities do that. They just say what they think they need to.
You mean they act?
Or they get paid to say it. You know, I mean the Kamala Harris campaign. That's the
I know. I
biggest
really
news out
want
of all
to dig
that.
into the
I know
the
where they're
truth
giving
on that
millions of dollars to all these people. It's like they don't have any natural support. They can't get these people to just and Trump wasn't doing that. He wasn't paying people to come to his rallies. They were coming to his rallies because they wanted to support him. So it shows how desperate the Kamala Harris campaign was because they had to pay for support.
Scroll down. It's on the left side. Mort just sent this to me right there. There's the "You are racist" on the far left. I don't know if that's just a random black guy or if that's somebody. Then it's Rachel Dazzle or whatever her name is. Then Abe Lincoln. Then Trump or Ku Klux
Abe
Klan.
Lincoln's in the middle.
Isn't that funny? Well, remember, this is the leftist viewpoint, right?
Yeah, the point that I thought was hilarious was when whatever that one guy said, I can't remember the line exactly, but he said, "No, I think that's ridiculous." And then Matt Walsh walked up and moved his all the way to the KKK line. That was
that's right.
Goofy.
All right. So what do you think, Tushi? You remember from 2012? You've seen some evidence here that maybe he's a recovered neocon. What do you think?
What do I think of the pick or what?
Yeah. What do you think about Hegseth? Do you think there's a chance this guy's gonna be good?
Okay, so well, I don't know about good. So what is his role? How much does he get to control what the foreign policy is versus would he just be somebody?
He'll be advising the president of the United States, and the SecDef is a pretty big advisor.
Right. Well, I mean, if it's in terms of things like
well, he
women
can fire people.
What's that?
He can fire the generals. You know, he can fire a lot of the military generals that are doing the wrong thing.
I actually don't know if that's true, to be honest with you. I think I wouldn't be surprised if the president has to fire the top brass in the military.
If he's trying to get rid of the woke standards and have better policies about females in combat and things like this, then he could do a great job. If he's like advising as far as foreign policy about which countries you should go to war with, then I still don't trust him, even though he has said the right thing. You know, it's up in the air whether he's truly reformed.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I mean, I think I'm with you there.
Well, I looked it up. It looks like the president or the Secretary of Defense or the commissioned officer of the Coast Guard or whatever can fire military officers.
Well, yeah, but
so I'm sure it comes to a certain extent of where his line is drawn, where it goes over to Trump, but he will have some authority.
Standards, then perhaps we could also get some extra military efficiency.
You know that. I can't imagine the SecDef actually firing top brass in the military without consulting with the president.
Well, but I mean, with consultation with the president, I'm sure, because I'm thinking there was the vaccine mandate where obviously that was in connection with Biden as well, with the Department of Defense. So, and
Pete talked about the problems with the vaccine mandate in the military. So if he was SecDef, maybe that wouldn't happen.
Yeah, well, I'm sure he'll repeal that. He'll have that authority.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what's going on here. So, last thing I want to talk about, because as I mentioned, you've got Matt Gaetz as AG, you got the vice president younger than me, you got Pete Hegseth, who was in my peer group in the Army. I think Hegseth's retired as a major. I left as a captain, but we would have been about the same. We would have been the same rank at the same time. So in my peer group, by the way, I never met him in the military. Okay, so because of all this stuff, I was thinking, gee, Jake, maybe you should get off your ass and do something for this country. Maybe you should be part of the Trump administration. And it hit me last night as I'm going down the YouTube rat hole. you know how just they throw videos at you, sometimes even videos you've seen in the past, and all of a sudden the infamous video of Trump meeting with the NATO council, whatever these bozos are.
Yep.
And I mean, Trump is hilarious. He just keeps saying it over and over again. It's actually like redundant to the largest degree. But like, why do we pay in for Germany's protection from Russia when they're buying 60-70% of their energy from Russia? It's just like a common sense thing. And I'm watching Mattis is there, and Kelly's there, and Kay Bailey Hutchinson, a career politician, was an ambassador to the UN ambassador to NATO. Did I say UN before NATO?
You said NATO.
Okay, ambassador to NATO. It's so hard to keep all these globalist organizations straight. She's there. They're all sitting there, not really adding anything. Oh, and what's his name? The former Secretary of State under Pompeo, Mike Pompeo, is just sitting there, and Trump is just like, it doesn't make any sense. Why are we Why are we protecting Germany? So, and I'm just like, oh my God. You know, I actually got a lot of experience. Pull up D1 there, Dawson. This is my role. This is my calling. Ambassador to NATO. This is me. Okay, so this is just one deployment, a NATO mission. This is Kosovo. This is my Finnish buddy, Swedish buddy. By the way, this was the Finnish-Swedish base I was assigned to. Let me back up here for a second. When I was in Kosovo, I don't get to pick my deployments. You think I want to go to live in Kosovo for a year, but the Army sent me. So I was a platoon leader. We owned a little region along the Macedonian border. And so we call them landowners as infantry guys. We weren't landowners. That was our area patrolling and supervising. And so I led a platoon, 30-some guys. Our secondary mission was we were QRF for all of Kosovo. QRF means Quick Reaction Force. Imagine something went down. Whatever. Could it be a mass casualty event, a big riot? We'd have to hop on birds within 30 minutes and go quell whatever that is. So I would be up on the flight line every day, or the airfield every day, talking to and getting the briefs from the Black Hawk helicopter pilots because we might have to go that day, right? So that was my secondary job. My third job is if I needed another job in Kosovo, but somehow around the battalion there was a rumor Jake spoke French. Just FYI, I don't speak French. But there's a rumor I spoke French, so I got tapped to be the liaison officer. Now, it could just be my very good extroverted skills, my gift of gab, you know? But I didn't speak these foreign languages. I got tapped to be the liaison officer when any mission went to, we had to work with these partner groups to the point where I was literally stationed for like a week on foreign bases. So this is me with my friend from Sweden. By the way, still friends with these guys on Facebook. Awesome dudes. Finnish soldier. I don't remember his name. I think he was an enlisted guy. Click on the next one. There's me with an Irish soldier. By the way, I think they were drinking that night. We didn't get a drink in the military, in the Army, ever. That was us giving us patches. There's a Greek soldier. Continue on. There's me with a French soldier. By the way, I was stationed on a French base in Kosovo, the only American on a French base. Oh my God, I could work with a French as well. So here's the deal. I've got a track record. Now those are with soldiers, of NATO soldiers, but I understand politicians. I know what makes them tick. So I could work with NATO politicians as well. And the best part about it, you're going to get a guy that's America first, Ukraine not part of our taxpayer-funded adventures. In fact, I don't really believe we should be in NATO anymore. There you go. I think I should get appointed to that. I don't know. I'm like 95% joking, just FYI, 95% joking. I'm not on Trump's radar by any means. But, if you want a guy that's ready, who's going to think the right way about these issues, you got my number. What do you think, Tushi?
Ambassador of NATO that doesn't think NATO should exist? I'm down.
By the way, that also would qualify me for the Fed chairman, the Department of Education. All right, I want to talk a little bit more about this NATO stuff here in the post show. If you guys are following, and I want to show you guys this video.
$5 Rumble rant real quick. We got Tucker91 says Jake for NATO ambassador. So you got some supporters out
there.
here.
There we go. We already got in supporters. By the way, that was our first Rumble rant. We almost missed one. The streak almost ended. We got to bring more Minnesota content, as Razzle Dazzle says. Sometimes things aren't happening in Minnesota. Just FYI, all the fun action is with the Trump administration. So, and by the way, I literally was pretty pissed a day ago about these picks, and now I'm thinking, hey, there's some pretty good ones. Billy22 says Monty Python movie, like literally, not every Monty Python movie, in particular, The Holy Grail.
Yep.
That movie is. You like that one?
I like that one, and honestly, The Life of Brian I think is pretty.
Life of Brian's
that
great.
That one's funny.
Life of Brian's great too. Okay, so let's talk more about this. I also want to show you a video. Not that I'm a fan of Dan Bilzerian, but it's a pretty good clip. I don't know if you've seen this one on Israel on Piers Morgan. It's pretty interesting stuff. We can get into some Israel stuff, but I want to talk more about this NATO and give you a little bit of background. I mean, I am 95% just joking about this. I have no desire to be a government employee. And I have definitely no desire to go live in Europe, right? Actually, where did they put them up? I guess it depends on where they put them up. But there's this desire I have to go tell these European politicians how things are going to be. And if Trump would equip me with the ability to get out of NATO, as I don't think we should be in NATO. I don't think this is a good idea. Of course, they want us in NATO, and they want us paying the bill. But I think, this is a crazy viewpoint. It's too extreme. I'd never get confirmed by the Senate. Do you even need I don't know if you need to be confirmed by the Senate.
I'm not sure on NATO.
Yeah, who knows?
I'd figure you would.
But, it'd be so extreme of a view. Like this is an extreme view. American taxpayers shouldn't have money taken out of their paycheck and go overseas to defend Germany from Russia, where they're getting 67% of their energy from. Extreme view there. Crazy. Thank you so much to our sponsors, Warren Wessel of Keller Williams Realty. If you're buying a home or selling a home, give Warren Wessel a call. If you looking to buy a home, give the good guys at John Galt Mortgage Company a chance at financing that home at johngaltmortgage.com. And thank you to Alpine Chemistry in St. Cloud, Minnesota for all your chemistry needs. Thank you to Tucker, the Rumble Rant. Thank you to everyone commenting on today's show. If you are not a supporter of the show, this helps run the dials, helps us with some of our upcoming projects where we'll be working on. Please subscribe. You don't have to do it live. You could, if you're watching this after the fact, you could do it. Click on Truth Hurts. Go to truthhurtsnews.com. Click on the top support. $8 a month. You help support the show. You'll get a free locals account, and then that's how you can watch the post show. Otherwise, you could just go to Rumble and click on join right there. For all the people that are supporters, we're going to be live in 1 minute on our post show. For everyone else, we'll be back on Tuesday. Take care.